So, dear 8th graders, here we are back on the online learning platform. How was your vacation? I hope it gave you a nice sense of reality where we are indeed fighting bravely with the situation. However, before moving ahead, I just pray and wish that all of you are in the best of your health. Do exercise. We are getting very less of movement. Our geography shouldn't be disturbed due to this all. And now coming back to the theoretical geography, let's go on to chapter 2, which is about natural resources. We had studied about land in the first part, or maybe the end or the last week of April. Moving further, this is going to be PPT part 2 of chapter 2, and this will be about soil as a resource. So, are we ready? Let's start. Um, Revision, a quick recap of land resource. It differs widely throughout the planet. Fertile areas, as you all know, will be more populated than deserts and mountains. For example, we compared Africa and Australia. I hope you have solved the worksheet, right? So it could help you in the revision as well. Second point, which was important here, was a land use and land cover pattern, which is important both from planning and cultural aspect. Cultural as in when we have more of forests or more of industries, the entire lifestyle or the culture of the place would undergo a change, right? That is when we compared how the thing was 10 years ago and further, right? So even our activity was planned on the same lines. The next important point about land resource was the private and community land, and it was based on who owns the land, right? Land conservation, four ways to do so, right? Do we remember? Planting trees and you know uh, further conservation measures, landslide and how to stop them. There were four mitigation risks, again, mitigation mechanisms, I'm sorry, to stop that: hazard mapping or retention wall, etc. Right? By the way, did you watch the video of the landslide which I had asked you to see? Please find the link with this video and do go for it, because it will help you retain what an exact landslide is and how we should be able to stop or protect ourselves from this kind of a scenario. Now moving to our topic in discussion, we are going to see the definition and formation of soil. Now every one of us has definitely seen, known, being living on this resource called soil. So can we define it as the actual habitat of living organisms on the land? This will depend on the second resource, which is soil. So soil is a thin layer of grainy substance covering the earth's surface. Okay, 1 centimeter of soil, you would be surprised to know, it takes about hundreds of years to form. This process is called as weathering. We've heard this, right? Weathering of rocks and breaking up. So when the exposed rocks break up and decay due to temperature changes, maybe heat, etc., then we have frost, a lot of cold. We have life cycle of a man, that is industrialization or mining or other activities, which are man-made changes to be precise. And lastly, the weathering also can occur due to plants and animal remains, right? When the rocks are breaking up and weathering, it will form about a thin layer of grainy substance over the earth, which we call as soil. Now moving to the types of soil, it will depend on the content of humus, right? Humus could be a pronunciation, but we call it as humus in British English. So, humus is actually the dead remains of plants and animals. It is the organic matter in the soil and makes it fertile or suitable for cultivation. When we drill into the earth, horizontal layers of soil are seen, right? Definitely, we could observe that at a topmost layer, you could see the blackish part. When you go down, it could turn more yellowish or more hard. So these are then studied by geologists. We all know them, right? People who are studying rocks. So geology, in this branch, they find its property of the earth and the layers of soil. In the next slide, we actually see which layers are we talking of. So when a geologist would ideally drill into the earth, these are going to be the horizontal layers which he sees. Okay, the first layer, um, or soil profile, as we say, when a sample is taken from the surface, you pick up a sample, right? So a profile would be what kind of soil is it ideally, and how does it come from bottom is actually the formation or the layers of the soil. In this diagram, we can see that there are four layers: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, top layer is the humus, as we said, the organic material, and some plants or new roots or biotic material in the soil. Second layer is the subsoil, the clay, silt, sand, and minerals. Okay, silt is ideally the water content also sometimes, because it may vary from place to place. So silt is a mixture of uh, you know grainy substances plus a bit of clay. um, Subsoil, as we saw, is the second layer after the humus layer, right? So the third layer is the weathered rock material, actual weathered pieces of rocks, the fragments, and the heat hardened coat of any soil or land. Okay, so last one is the parent rock, the stone bed which is closest to the land or the earth's surface. Okay, so four layers are again: top layer, subsoil, weathered rock material, and parent rock. Okay, now do you think it will be similar throughout earth, or will it vary? So of course it is going to vary, and these factors of soil formation will be based on these layers. I mean, how are these layers formed? We are going to see the factors which are responsible for the layers being in that form. Okay, the reasons behind these layers. So four layers would have at least four different factors of formation, right? Common sense, right? But we have more than that. Okay, so let's go deep into the soil and check what factors actually lead to their formation. So first of all, what do you think is the stone bed or the rock which is most important? Right, the parent rock. All the physical and chemical properties of the soil, for example, which color it is, what texture does it have, or the minerals present in the soil, will depend upon whether the rock is coming from a volcano or near you know sedimentary rock or igneous rock, or so on. So that is how the parent rock will affect all the physical and chemical properties of the soil which we see throughout earth. Next, the factor important is again uh, the climate, the weather at that place, daily weather, the temperature or the rainfall received, right? And what does it impact the most, do you think? It will definitely impact the topsoil or the humus content, right? And of course the uh, you know uh, humidity and the water content as well. Moving next, the next factor that we are going to see in the formation of soil is time. How much time did it take for the soil to form? Now, what will it show you is, if we have a patch of land which is untouched for years together, do you think it will be more thick, right? Because there is lesser human interference or there is lesser use of that soil, there will be a thickness, and the rate of formation or the time taken is more, right? Next factor for soil formation is flora, fauna, and microorganisms present at that place. Do these matter? Of course they will, because you would see that the humus content would vary significantly throughout the world. We will see shortly how it changes, or we could see examples very soon. You will understand this better when we move to that map. Okay. The next factor to discuss is an essentially geographical term we call as altitude of that place, the height of that place from mean sea level, the relief or the contour of the land. Okay, so relief is the slope and contour is the curves at that place, right? And at what degree is the slope, or how steep are we going, etc. It will affect what part of it? The accumulation of the layer or the thickness again of the soil, right? So we have seen five factors which are important in soil formation. One is going to be, the first is the parent rock, very important, all the physical and chemical properties. Second is climate and rainfall, or the temperature also for the topsoil. Third is the time taken, very important as a factor in the formation of soil. Next is the microorganisms, flora, fauna at that place. And last one is altitude, or the height and slope of that place. Correct? Okay. Now, let us go to the examples where we will actually see pictures of various types of soil, which will make you understand that due to these factors, how different can a soil get, right? So desert soil, as you can see, is the most uh, you know uh, dry, or the driest in nature, will have least water content. Then you have mountain soil, lesser than this in a bit of degree, I would say. Then you have laterite, which is red and contains a specific mineral due to which the color is present or obtained. Then you have alluvial, which is very fertile, okay, and found closer to the rivers generally. And the black soil, which is found widely in Maharashtra. So let us see, black soil or rigor, as we call the soil, is found on the Deccan Plateau of India, the southern part, the Deccan Plateau. Alluvial soil is most widely found throughout India. The northern plains or coastal areas and the deltas, everything would have alluvial soil closer to the rivers, right? And moving next, as we said about red soil, it is widely found in south and eastern parts of India. It has very high iron content. Laterite soil is found in northeast India or Chota Nagpur plateau. Okay. Mountain soil is found on hill slopes, right? Any hill slopes, or essentially the hills which are steep, in nature, you would find that soil will have lesser retention or not more fertility in that sense. Desert soil in the semi-arid regions of India, right? Now, as we've seen, land, soil, variety of resources in nature are definitely up for conservation always, because we are increasing and the nature is not, right, growing at the same rate, etc., because we use up many resources. So coming to the point of conservation, now 7 measures are discussed in our syllabus to stop soil erosion. Now what is soil erosion? It is when the top layer of the soil is lost due to natural, which are the natural factors? Strong winds, heavy rains, and human activities. When the top layer of the soil is lost due to natural and human activities. Human activities will include overuse of chemicals and overgrazing by animals, right? So agriculture, animal husbandry, and of course other activities like mining or construction, etc. So let's start with a simple example on how to conserve soil. The first measure that we are going to see is shelter belt. Okay, this figure in your textbook. Um, you can see that a row of trees is seen. It reminds me of the Diwali time when we build castles during Diwali. The soil washes out if you pour water, correct, when we're building, and we wet the clay and then apply it over parts. And if you try placing the mustard seeds, your castle top coat of brown will be intact even in the rains. Um, right? I mean, when we have finished with the construction, if we try watering the seeds there, you will find that the soil is moving swiftly along with the water. However, if we have a small growth of plantation there, we will observe definitely that it is holding to some water and some soil too. So this is the kind of root shelter that we are giving the soil. We are building it unknowingly when we are placing new growth on the top layer. So imagine the benefits when we grow big trees and we are planting them. The soil drifting and erosion will definitely be reduced, right? So this is the first measure, the simplest one that we know of. If we plant more trees, it is going to absorb the water as well as stop the erosion of top coat of the soil. And this is called as a shelter belt. Across a patch of land, if you have shelter belt, it will conserve the top coat of the soil. Next measures that we are going to see are terrace farming, contour plowing. Okay, two of them, the figures in front of you. So in terrace farming, as you can see, the steep slopes of a place, of a mountain, are flattened by broad terraces. Using it for farming, and small flower crops or horticulture, etc., to stop the soil erosion. So when we have a continuous slope, we are just trying to give a break in the middle, break the slope or flatten it into terrace, and then farm on it, right? So that will reduce the soil erosion and conserve soil. Third measure is contour plowing. Okay, now a hill slope has contours. What we mean by contours is the high and the low areas. So when we are plowing or combing through the soil which is parallel to the contour, the water in these areas is stopped, and this will result in conserving soil. So a hill slope will have a certain direction of contour. There is a high area, there is a low area, and here what we can see, these belts here, hmm, are the plowing which is done parallelly, and it is combed, and therefore we are reducing the soil erosion and conserving the soil. Fourth conservation measure for soil is building a barrier. The simple one again, human made high barriers with stones or soil bund. Bund, if you have seen dams which are built out of earth and clay, that those are called bunds, right? A small raising or the height of soil put together to reduce the slope of a land. Again, what we are trying to do is the speed at which the soil is flowing from a particular place in case of rainfall. Fifth conservation measure is rock dam, building a temporary dam at intervals on a slope. Correct? So after the barrier was made of stones and soil, but the rock dam is a temporary dam, actual structure that we are constructing after certain intervals. Sixth one is mulching. Okay, mulch. Have you heard this word? Hmm? The cows, for example, mulch or eat. Now, this is the dried grass or the straw which is fed to them. So, what do we actually do? We when we cover the soil or space between two plants with straw and grass, it will be called as mulch. Okay, as simple as that. If we have a potted plant and you place a coconut husk over it, what does it do is actually cover the exposed soil with dried grass so that the soil is not easily washed away. Okay, so this is one of the conservation measure, again easily doable. Seventh and the last conservation measure which we are going to study is crop rotation. Okay, essentially done for farming and agriculture. Different crops are taken at different times, okay, to avoid rain wash. Same plants are not planted across the farm, but at different times also you have different types of crops growing in the same land. You have a legume growth, maybe tur dal at one patch of land, and the other patch is going to be of a different variety of maybe plant, maybe mustard, right? So that is one way of doing it. The other way is you grow wheat completely, and after the wheat is harvested, you take another crop. So that rotation is very important for soil because it will stop the continuous degradation or loss of fertility, etc. That is why it is also considered as a conservation measure of soil. Now, a quick recap. We've seen the definition and the formation of soil, the factors which are important for soil formation, the soils of India. There is a map work also along with it, which we will study, and the 7 conservation measures of soil. Okay, so here in this map, you could take a screenshot or save this picture, because we are generally seeing all the types of soils which we find in India. How is the distribution across?